You come back to the Volta region, where they used to also have some of the people from the Volta region who provide them with ritual powers and so on during the war and so on at Sidame. So those also relationship is there. So we know that someone like Edubafo came to stay at the Angono enclave. And his best friend was one of the Asante chiefs, whom he gave the nickname Otamakro, one who, the lifter of towns and so on. So you see this beautiful cultural, historical connections, either as a war of conquest, or either as a relationship in terms of war, or either as even an attempt to overtake a territory. Whether good or bad, these things establish a very beautiful linkages that we are witnessing today. So I always argue that when we are even very critical and to look deep into our historical past, we will see that there is more that unifies us than divides us. As the politicians attempt to try to say, you are from here. All these things are an attempt by modern day politicians to try to tap into a specific group of specific ethnic groups for their votes, as if there was a historical chasm between Asante and specific people, when in essence some of them were allies. So for example, Asantes, their best friends were the Aono people. Okay, so they come to coast, they trade there, and the Gans and other people were also not happy about that because you give them opportunity to have the coastal space. You see, the Fantis also had their wars with the Asantes because they feel they are coming to take their space to trade and so forth. These things in historical context give you understanding that these were the times of state formation and contestation for powers of the individuals. So the idea of those historical past where people were contesting for their space and fighting for was something that ought to happen, and it is existence in all societies.
That's really fascinating, fascinating. And I think the connection you established, historical connection between the groups, informs why they've maintained the relationship. Because we saw, I think 102.4 celebrated his one of his anniversary. We saw how long the Gaumanche spent there, I think earlier this year, and it was probably the first time we saw in a long while where the Gaumanche has, established that level of connection. I think he spent about 5 days in Kumasi, and it was a really beautiful ceremony. We understand that we have to go to the grounds briefly, right? And we're going to see what is unfolding on the grounds at this point, because we know more and more chiefs are arriving, right? Yes.
Akrabepie ani braba bridge ya bowa Asantehemaa mu na enye asamketua na nana bedika pie akwafa National House of Chiefs ansa na akwafa ekwan no mu ediaba ededi nkan no nana yese ya ana epie ye no Opie kwafa National House of Chief ebe fa manhia ekwan na no ewura mu ansa na woba e kire mamre ene yinso a e de twa toyi na ye de ya ofusuma twa toyi na ne e wa mamre mu no ne maame na fomo na emu mababusua mu dia ne nuaba wo de agya ne kwan kura no na na besa kwafa ho a na wo de agya Ninia Bakwan. Dom na abepie mu ha. Na yakasa Asante eyo maya ampa. Asante eyo mai pa. Asante eyo mai krobia yefire ampa ngo masachi. Kotokoma ene ekunini ene anintini ene wa ha.
The final day of the burial rites in honor of our beloved Queen Mother, Nana Kunedu Yaldo III. Today, we will have the honor of receiving the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and his team from the Presidency.
Kingdom Herba. Yeah, I no challenger. Ampa. And the mama do me TV any challenger. Open swaba. Now sha mamra idea nima enya sam ketwa. Kingdom Herba Center. Na unyabo pie won ko adia I no challenger. Ya dia da sebetu. My Way Insurance. My Way. What's it say?
Of Eswatini, who was here yesterday, and she will join us again together with the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Eswatini to observe the final burial rites. Dear attendants, here is a manifestation of this special recognition that they have for Asantehemaa, the love that existed between themselves and our Queen Mother, and the bond that exists between themselves and His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. Allow me quickly to remind you that, as you are all aware, the firing of musketry is usually part of our sacred tradition. But please be aware, as it has been announced severally, that only gunpowder will be allowed. No live ammunition. Underline, no live ammunitions will be used here today. Any firing on musketry should be 50 meters away from the presidential dais. Any musketry being fired with gunpowder should be 50 meters away from the presidential dais. We kindly remind that entry into the perimeter is strictly by accreditation. We ask you for your full cooperation with our security men and our protocol officers. I must indicate that very few dignitaries will be allowed to approach the royal dais and to pay homage to the king. Groups, institutions, and individuals paying homage to His Majesty are advised to kindly wait until their names are formally announced. The Standard Chartered Bank is the official bank designated for the collection of all donations today. They have 10 tellers, 6 points where you can do your donation through Momo, through bank drafts, through POS, and by cash.
Still, special coverage of the final funeral rite of the Queen Mother of the Asante Kingdom. And on your screens now is the King himself, who is arriving at the funeral grounds. And you could see we're just going to get a bit more insight into, because I do get a sense that he's sitting on a palanquin, and even he's not in his usual regalia in terms of the crown he's wearing and the outfit he's on. You can look at his facial mannerisms. You can tell that this is indeed a very, very serious moment. And I mean, you can see it on the screen from where you are. Just help us appreciate what is happening now in terms of the outfit, in terms of the other things he's got on himself. This is not the usual outfit.
So the hat he's wearing and everything shows you this is a very important occasion. He's signifying that the mother has passed. You see the srawa there, that he himself is not just there for that you can easily attack spiritually and so on. And you look at the regalia is also telling you that and as he's going, you see all the other chiefs and their drums will cease. There will be no movement of any other chief. So that is why one of the Asantehenea's appellation is Okontominum for Genedu Compasity. This is a very heavy word.
Yeah.
Okontominum for means when he moves on the way, he swallows everything on his path. Or quite to meaningful. So everything on his way, he grabs it and he swallows it. It means no one else can what? Stop him. If you dare, he will swallow you. Janedu, whenever he is moving, no one can stop him anywhere unless he decides to stop. So as he is going, it is not a crowd. There are some people who so you see people are throwing hands, they are shouting appellations and so on. Elsewhere, you see that if he comes down, people will be trying to put their cloths on the ground. That very cloth they wear, that same cloth will be put on the ground and they will wear. In fact, in say, his Lord is moving. Now wait till so he goes on his own time. Because to me, sorry, I say, he is not in a hurry to go anywhere.
Right.
Because he owns the land. And these are his people. So as he moves, if they want to perform any action, he understands. So he will signal what ought to be done. If he wants to also acknowledge the people, he will do the acknowledgement. Any ritual performances on the way, he will also will stop and allow the performances to occur. So this is a whole cultural display with ritualized performances, traditional processes, and so on, all at one specific place. So it is opportune for those of us who are alive to see some of these things which does not come all the time being displayed at one place for all of us to observe at this moment. So that is what we are seeing. His chair being carried by someone, that a Cyprian, an Ashadom. The Shadom stool is the one that looks like that looks like the modern chair. So he sits in it and he can look at all the people. So he faces and can see everyone. That's why they call that stool Shadom stool. So those will be put in there. Apart from him sitting in that chair, no other person can do so. And even in your dressing, you cannot wear richer dress than the king.
Really?
You cannot wear any gold richer than the king. Because he owns the state. What you have belongs to him.
How do you know what you're wearing is richer than his?
You'll be told. In fact, in the olden days, if you do that thing before him, they will seize everything from you and you be sent to the treasury of Asantehemaa. Because Ashanti likes performance. Performance is their way of life. The idea of, you see, there's something, let me take this opportunity to explain something. Other societies are very conservative about what they have. In Asante, they have something called Impuaka. So what he have, he will parade it and flaunt it for you to know that he have it, not in Umuja. So what he have, he want the world to know. So in those days, when they go to war, Asante sits in public. And the war booties, those who get it, they come and they show what they have about the flaunting of their wealth. So this was also imbibed, capital accumulation, as a way of showing it to the people that it is not something that is being boasted about, but it must be exhibited for people to appreciate that the possessor is not only speaking, but he have it truly. And how best can you show it in those days? These days you have banks, so you can go and see. So if the person have gold in those days, if he wears it, if he shows it in public, then you know, oh. So you see Nana Kofi Brintu, when he comes to Kumasi, he and his grandchildren, as he sits in the palanquin, he will scatter the entire palanquin with gold. Just say, oh no, this is So it is showing that he has it, and so on. So all these performative acts were imbibed by modern day Ashanti people of wealth, whether at the funeral level, whether at wedding, and so on. They want to show they have. While other cultures, they don't have that sort of thing. So they often make mistake of trying to use what pertains in their society and use it to try to interpret what other society is doing, and then trying to make like one other society is like profligate in the way they do their things. But that is not the way it is. It is their culture and how they exhibit it, and yours is different. So the more we should understand that we are all not of the same kind. The way you do things in your space is different from the way another person. And if we understand each other in that way, no one will be going about saying certain ethnocentric things about each other as we do and bring confusion.
And I think one of the things that make, and Michelle, maybe you might want to come in here, one of the things that make funerals in the Ashanti region very peculiar is the fact that people do not just mourn. When you get in there, you have a whole experience. And I'm sure that was what informed the idea of funeral tourism, which when it came up at first, people laughed it off. But at such an occasion like this, we are seeing dignitaries, we are seeing people from all walks of life attended. And I'm sure people deliberately decided to go to Kumasi today just for this event. And even in the context of funeral tourism, and I'm sure you have had many experiences in terms of funerals in the Ashanti region. And the question a lot of people have asked is why there is such show of, if I can use the word, extravagance when it comes to funerals. All right, sometimes it's not just a funeral; it's even the burial place of the individual. I've been in some parts of the Ashanti region before, and I've seen the final resting place of some people, and it's almost like a two-bedroom house. It's almost like a two-bedroom house. Others, very nice facilities, just as a resting place for the people. Is there a certain historical explanation for that? Why the Asantes have attached so much premium to funeral, and why they do it with such, flair and such extravagance? You know?
Yeah, so culturally, one of the major questions sometimes when you're teaching funerals and culture, you ask is, are funerals for the dead or for the living? Very critical question. So this then would tease out why certain things are done. So, you know, a person who have died becomes an ancestor. And there are certain things we're supposed to do for the ancestor so that he can bless us. So if you do a yibani, you don't do good burial, that ancestor will not bless the household. So you do a very good funeral. In so doing, we want to immortalize that person's memory. And this is done by the way we show love to the dead. And mind you, it is also grounded in the traditional African religion or the traditional African belief system, which is cyclical. That when we die, we don't go and stay there as in Christianity and wait till the coming of the Lord. But when you die, you go and become an ancestor, and then you are reborn and you return.
Reincarnation.
Very good. And because of that, that is why that person who is going to be an ancestor, who will bring blessing, ought to have a dignified funeral. And in society where there is abundance of wealth, how best can you express that sort of good things to the dead? So in a society that is lacking, they may not have those like gold and those things, and gold was the cocaine of the time. So if you have it, you can use it to make a lot of things. And once they have it abundantly around that time, they are able to use it either to send it for other currency to build stuff. And gold itself was also a mode of exchange under the market systems. So they can use it to build whatever they want to build, acquire whatever they want. In fact, they even bury the dead. Some of them, those who were desecrating graves. They do so because of what we are discussing today, because they know very important people were buried with raw gold.
And that's why they go back to, what we can see, Michelle, I'm sure we are told the president has arrived at the grounds now, and I'm sure he's going to be there in the company of the First Lady and some government officials. I'm not sure if you can see on the ground. What can you see there, Michelle? The cars?
Well, I see, I think the entrance of the president accompanied by a few, traditional members, I should say. And so we're going to go on ground and experience what is happening there. Thank you very much, Nana Kwekudako, for joining us. And when we come back, we have more.
Yeah, we have more. So the president has arrived now, and we'll get to hear what is unfolding with the president's arrival.
Dignitary should give way to the national security. If you are not designated to a particular seat on the presidential days, we encourage you to find a place to sit. A seat has been allocated to specific individuals and dignitaries. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please cooperate with the securities that have been designated to man the presidential days. I welcome Honorable Akwasi Adai Odike, also here to mourn with us, with his friends. Odike, you are welcome. We thank you for showing love and support to Asantehemaa.
Or therefore, hine fear fraud to some you know a year is theatre hine one in Kunya so for one Abba bedroom. Omo eba abema ira dem refer. Yes, Ceremonial said ya bambo for no moto to niema no munni susa pepepe mayen na edwanu mu madaroma yampamu obia nanso enhyehyeye mu no emfimfi ha de efri juada ba nyina ra mfimfi ha obia nyina ha
me ba be kia no ya de na so ne nyina akọ ejare okọ be kwa akọto be tie ma kwan Nana Joban so hene ana ya ne na bon komo no Nana kire se okọ nwuram wakwa ha ba mu kopa nam na wo nam nyina abegu ejare Randy J Abubakar Yamaka Badum TV so
Mejo so pa me no ben
Enkofo piapia pa o
me se obene de na dom no akire so dom na boro so pa on se wo hwe efri na no juada ba ne mu adwo kakra na enne no mu se enne de twato no a obi a nsusu wasenya afofida wo na dwuma mu ne adade nti obi a hunu se enne ne yakwanya a ese se wo mu nyina de ba na wo mu so ba behwe de yekoso Asantehemaa nti enne hu se dom na akire so a dodo na nkwa adwuma wati ase nti nipa ne hunu so wode betena fie de ene wode ba ha no mu a wati ase na wono so wahu de twa ekoso
enne me anhwe aha de dom wo ha na wo fa kurom no wahu nipa ho
masa da me ho na etina kurom on se endo opin so ma yete ase se enema bi wo no mu enye chinchine se wuntimi nye wa ma wo kwan ne mu mo a na ni di o mbeso mo de ma Asantehemaa ene Asantehemaa nti no obi a ese ne no onna kura nkwa adwuma efi se wo nko aka se wo kwa adwuma na obi a ma meto de wo to amfa so obi amaso ena opon so no wonya driver amanamfo anko fie so asem wato
medase pi na megyina mu TV so mi sa adamu e wa Adom FM so na etino yeguso ewo manhia fikesiem yeguso ewo efikesiem amamre ene amane ena etwagu ha ena mparifo akuni ne aninti ena abepiemu ewa ha ene unni dwumadie bia dia oba ha bebre pa na mete wo change life oba bre ye
ne yansem presidential days enti besre Obibia would depend on the Chibabiano. Akonia.
Adum TV na ugusu a wo hwe no. Hwe dom ya. Nya dom ketwa. Nya edom ketwa. Amamre Chagu.
Yeah, we're still here on Joy Prime, bringing you that special coverage of the final funeral rites of Nana Konadu Iyadom II, Asantehemaa, and already the king has arrived, Otumfuo has arrived, and we understand the president has now also arrived at the ground. President of the Republic, we just saw his vehicles arrive at the grounds. I'm sure he's going to be taking a seat any moment from now, and then the event will get into full swing. But historian Mr. Dakwa has now taken leave of us, and we have another historian joining us to bring us more insight into what is unfolding here. And Michelle is going to bring us that. Michelle, who have you got in the studio?
Of course, yes. We have Professor Obadele Kambon. I got that right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us. Yes, and we're really glad that you're here. And through and through, we've been going through the traditions of the Asante Kingdom and some of the happenings that have gone on within the week. And just before Nana Daku took leave of us, my colleague Musbao asked a question about the essence of, all the
funeral activities,
that has gone on. Now, there's one thing that I also want you to shed lights on. Now, we've seen a number of rites that have taken place in the past days, and today is the final rite that's going to happen. Now, what does all of those rites mean to the ancestors? You know, we believe in our ancestors. What does it mean to the ancestors, to the Asantehene and his kingdom, and to the Asante region or kingdom as a whole?
Very good. So where it comes down to, the rights that we're seeing, and actually I'm just from Kumasi. I'm literally just flying off, coming off of the airplane. I had to go and, pay my own respects there.
Right.
Most especially Otumfuo, but I just had to go and see Nana Nsumankwahine, who's been like a father to me, over the years. So even though I wasn't able to stay long, I'm just now coming from the airport to join you.
Okay.
Where it comes to this, for us, you say we believe in the ancestors. I would say it's not belief, it's knowledge, because this is something that we know, is the case. The idea is that all of these things are an analogy for the procession of the sun. So your birth is like sunrise, right? You get to the high point at noon, and then you descend into sunset. And the idea is that even though the sun sets, it does not stop existing. That is how she can be how she can be the third, you understand? Because the idea is that she's gone through this cycle. She's going through the cycle. When she comes back, it's the sun rising again, and the human being is seen as being like a living sun.
Right.
So what to the ancestors would be a quote-unquote death to them is birth to us. The parallel is what is death to us is a birth to them, so she's being reborn. This is the same reason why you have the 8 days before you would name a child, right? That's why we do the 1 week, right? That's, again, the 8 days. When people say it, sometimes I ask my students, I'm like, how many days are in the week? They say 7. I said, no. Nah, watch it. So, nah, watch it. You're saying 8 days, you understand? Because it's inclusive of the Sunday as both the first day and the last day. The image that's often given in our symbolism all the way from classical Kemet, you can find it in Benin, and other places, is a snake with its own tail in its mouth. This means that the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. That life is a cycle that continues on. That's a proverb that used to exist in classical Kemet, what people may know as ancient Egypt, and it's still our concept to this very day of this is a continuous cycle. So, on the one hand, I heard that's actually my student Kweku Dako Ankor at Institute of African Studies, and I taught a course called Foundations of African Thought that went into why you see this type of thing for Black people throughout the world. This idea that when the sun sets, it does not stop existing. This is why we pour libation. And you'll find libation, even when people may use something different to pour it. Some people may use pito to pour libation. Some people may use palm wine to pour libation. In classical times, we would use adukrumunsiu. That's the water that's fallen that has never touched the ground before, you'll get it from inside of the hollow of a tree, and you'll pour libation with that. If you go even to places like the U.S., people will take malt liquor and pour some out for the homies, right? But what all of this is our shared worldview that when a person, passes on, they have not died, they've only transitioned. So this is why, you'll have proverbs like, right? When a person has died, he or she has not died, because the idea is that they've only transformed. Now, this is very scientific. That's why I say it's much on the side of knowledge as opposed to belief, because if you go into, laws of physics, that energy is not created or destroyed in a closed system, it's only transformed. Mass, the exact same thing. So what you will call your body right now, 3,000 years ago, all the parts of your body were not part of your body, they were something else. But things have transformed and transformed and transformed over time to become what is you. And then 3,000 years from now, what you call your body today will be something else. So this is knowledge that all that exists is transformation, and this is what we see again in the transition.
You mentioned that you've been in Kumasi. You literally just came back from Kumasi. Just tell us just tell us what you experience within this period, because like you mentioned, we've seen rites, I think since Monday performed. Tell us what you experienced being there.
So it was interesting. The taxi driver, when I was on the way to the airport, he was like, Kumasi, like everything is just so quiet. And you can see a Honda Tumiwa. You understand? I try to open a shop and you will see what power, is. There's a respect, that's going on, for this, because again, this is a transitional period where, you'll go from, a transition from this realm that we know as Ewiase to Asamando. So she is being born 8 days, that marks, the birth into the ancestral realm, and the same way that we go through the cycle from the high point all the way down. Now, what I saw was, a lot of what you're seeing now. They started off with Akom.
Okay.
Now, there's an association that I'm a part of. We just presented a mural to Otumfuo. It's a life-size mural, over 6 feet tall, of him seated in state with his counselors. NATAV is the National Association of Traditionalists and Ancestral Venerators. The same way they have, a day of prayer and Thanksgiving, they will invite the, Christians, they'll invite the Muslims. But those of us who are traditionalists, proudly, there's no day for us, there's no acknowledgement for us. So what we're trying to do with the consultation of the Nsumankwahene is for us to know that what we have as a culture is rich.
Yeah, just before you continue, we understand the president has arrived at the grounds now, and you can see on your screens that he is moving, and he's been received with applause and cheers, and you can see that as he moves in. We're going to try and get a sense of the company he's in with. Sure is going to be the First Lady, the Chief of Staff, significantly is going to be with him. Most likely the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, is also going to be with him. We're going to get a good shot of that, and you see the President as he moves to take his seat for the event. It was not going to be rocket science that the president was going to be there. He was definitely going to be there. There was no way he was going to miss this, isn't it? He was definitely going to be there. And just briefly it went by. But you're going to see him because more and more dignitaries, along with the president, are arriving there. And, and we're just talking about respect because of the things you saw on the ground. Shops were closed. Everybody was given some level of respect to the kingdom. And we've seen that respect manifest over time. The kind of respect that the Asantehemaa is accorded, even the Asante kingdom is accorded, is incredible. It's incredible. Even during elections, we see political candidates, they have to go and present themselves that I'm going to contest for office of the president, etc. Why do you think he commands so much respect?
So a lot of it has to do, with the history. A lot of it has to do, so like if you go all the way back, you have the, Asante state, but before even the Asante state, you had, Bonamanso, you had Adansi. You have, the founding of Asante in opposition to Denchira, Nanentim Jakari, that this is a history that, what became the Asante Empire, spanned over more than even the width and breadth of Ghana.
And we're just making the point about the president there. You can see in an outfit, I'm sure that's as I mentioned, he's not taking his seats. He exchanged a few pleasantries with some of the dignitaries that had already taken their seat. And the president, in his outfit, he has taken his seat now. I mentioned that he was likely to be in the company of the First Lady. I haven't seen the First Lady, but I can see the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, sitting next to him on his left, and you can see Julius Deborah also in his black smock there, and a few other ministers of state are seated there, and you can see the president. So the president has arrived at the grounds now, and I'm sure it wouldn't be long. The king will arrive at the grounds also. It wouldn't be long. He will also arrive at the ground. The Ashanti regional minister is also sitting on that line, and a number of ministers of state have also arrived there. So the president is there, and you are making the point as to why the Asante kingdom and the king is accorded so much respect.
So, at its greatest expanse, the Asante Empire, spanned more than even what we know to be, the nation of Ghana to this day. And when you say Ohene, there are some, my background is in linguistics. Some people say, Ohene comes from Nehoya Hene, right? It means that when they first came, they knew all of the boundaries. That's where you get Odishye. So Eshe being the boundary. So this is the possessor of all of the boundaries. And when you go to the fullest extent of the Asante, then you'll see, the full, massive nature of what the Asante Empire, came to be. And then also, through war, right? So you'll have certain, histories that are recounted in terms of, you had Jamang, right? So this is the history of how Adinkra came to Asante, so that the Jamang Hene said that, or there were those around him who said, there shouldn't only be one golden stool. You should have a golden stool. That, of course, caused the conflict, and then it drove the people of Jamang to what's now modern-day Côte d'Ivoire. So through, these types of conflicts, through expanse, then it came to be understood that that this is a force to be reckoned with. When you see, the millions and millions of people, even to this day, like when you travel outside, like I'll go to Burkina Faso, someone says, here's the Ghana community, people are speaking Twi. Same thing in Mali, people are speaking Twi. In the US, you'll go to the Ghana Maya Association and people are speaking Twi. That, just the massive nature of, Asante, and then the degree to which they still have a respect for, their culture. What you see right here is a respect for culture. And even if we look at the role of the Queen Mother as the foundation upon which the stool rests, you understand? This is something that you'll see for black people. There's a noted historian, Mamseh Anta Diop. The major university in Senegal is named after him, where he talked about domains of matriarchy and patriarchy, and said that we as black people, we have this, matriarchy, system. So even if you go to classical Nyane, what they call Mali, you have Mansa Musa. In his testimony to Al-Omari, he said that he came to be the ruler because his uncle, his matrilineal uncle, decided to travel across the ocean, that we now know as the Atlantic Ocean. And when he didn't come back, that's how he came to rule. What he's actually recounting is this same matrilineage where it's the Wafa that you are inheriting from. You'll find the same thing again going back to classical Kemet. We're talking about 5,000 years ago, where even the symbol of the rulership is the throne of the woman. It means that if you're not the child of a woman, or married to the woman, or some relationship to the woman, because that is the foundation of the entire lineage, the only thing that gives you the right to rule. And in the case of Asante, it's Oyoko, which is represented by, the falcon. Now, if you look at the father's line, you have Busumru. Most people just know Busumru as a title that was given to the late Kofi Annan, but Busumru is one of the 12 Ntro. So Ntro is what's to the male is what a Busian is to the female. So whereas you have these 8 matriclans, including Asenia, Agona, Asona, Asechiri, Oyokwo, Ritual, Ekwana, and Adriana. So you have those 8. But now on the father's side, you have everyone is descended from a specific body of water. So this one is for the blood, that is what makes up your body. Now this side is the water and the spirit that makes you up. So you have Bosompra, you have Bosomchi, you have Bosomafram, you have Bosomru. And of course for any Asantehene, he has to be Bosomru line, father, and then it has to be Oyoko line, mother, before you can even qualify of the two coming together to be Asantehene.
That's very detailed. That's very detailed.
Yes, that is. But right on the grounds, Ms. Bao, I just saw something, and I don't know if you could speak to it. Now, we see a number of people coming in, and there's one man dressed in something like a war cloth, carrying something I could not necessarily
there was
see.
some leaves on
yes, with a lot of people around them. Now, when there's a funeral in the Asante Kingdom, there's a saying, Aswashaba, Enibriaba. Is that the reason war songs are sung during funerals? Before you answer that, can you speak to that video that I just described?
So when you see them carrying, usually it's headbands that may have medicine inside of it, that before even, Akomfo came to be, so prominent, you had Abosomfo, each one was tied to a specific family. So when you'll see them carrying the brass bands, usually it's related to the Abosom, and when they're carrying it, it means that they've become possessed by the spirit of their specific family. So when you'll see that, that is what you can understand it to be. Usually they'll use like ninya, which is a type of leaf that they'll put around their necks. So all of these are symbols that have, a deep significance in terms of, just as you're mentioning, the war songs. Part of it is to, recount the history, right? So every single time that, there was a war, every single time that there was a major event, then those things are recorded orally, in the songs. So, there's not a possibility for these ideas to just, get lost when you're able to, recount them periodically at occasions such as this. So in past times, a lot of those histories would also be played on the Atumpan, which you can see right here. So they say that in previous times, if someone made a mistake on the Atumpan, they could be taken out of here.
Right.
So that's just the knowledge. So you have Odumakuma Boadia, Boadia, Boadia Ben, Oboseng, Obochirema. Aseng is the court crier, and then Ochirema is the one who represents knowledge, right? So what he's recounting, he will go through the entire history of Asante, from Osei Tutu going all the way to Otumfo himself in this very day, the second Osei Tutu. And again, that loops back around to what we originally started with, that again, the human being is seen as a living son. And here we see Otumfo himself, who is coming to join what is happening here. So this is his elder sister, who has passed away. But again, as we mentioned, that the passing is different from the death as it may be understood in English or, non-Black cultures, that we understand this as a tradition, that and in this tradition, it's a transition to the ancestral realm.
Right. Now, there's also one, I don't know if it's a myth or if it's something that really happens. So, there's usually a curfew around this time, that after a certain time, nobody's supposed to be out, which we've already seen that in some parts, in fact, in all parts of all parts of Kumasi, people are indoor, nobody is coming out to do anything. Now, there's this belief that if you're caught after that time, you're either slaughtered and then your head is being buried together with the Queen Mother. How true is that?
So you have the Abrafo, you have the Adumfo. In previous times, like the contemporary understanding of death is, quite different. In previous times, people would clamor in order to join the Asantehemaa or the, Otumfo who had passed away, because the idea is that in Asaman people preserve
and just
them.
before you continue, just about the scenes we are seeing on our screens now, the king is arriving at the burial grounds, and you could see the crowd cheering. This is a very solemn moment, but he's still getting the cheers. He's extending the pleasantries, and it's a very, very strong atmosphere. This charged atmosphere, if you want to describe it, is in a palanquin. And we're just making the point that on normal day, especially when it's Akusidai or some festival, we see the outfit he wear. This time round, it's a completely different one. And I could see some... what do you call it?
CD.
Yeah, all over the outfit is wearing. He's got some other things on his arm, and he's also got some, what do you call it? If you look at what he's wearing in terms of the crown, I'm sure in this case, and you can see all of that manifesting. Well, we understand that we can hear former colleagues on ground now who are telling us more about what's unfolding.
breathing and then to take their rightful position behind. Your Excellencies, what is going on here? With all kinds of samples performing, with all kinds of mastery, in a lot of ways. If you don't understand the way the Asante express grief, that's what is going on. It's not going to be solved. It will be fighting, it should be violent, and it should all work slowly, no more. It is solved. And I'm going to show you now what it ways of the Asante expressing grief. First of all, look at the color profile. The color profile is black, pure black, 23 off. That's the first color profile. And a lot of the grief is also expressed in artistic forms.